God of War Ragnarok isn't much of a departure from the structure of 2018's game. It's still mostly linear, maybe even more so, and has moments of freedom sprinkled throughout the story. I remember thinking how special the combat felt in the first game, throwing and recalling the Leviathan axe being one of the most satisfying attacks in any game. For Sony Santa Monica to improve the combat and story so dramatically for the sequel is incredible. Ragnarok isn't just a prettier continuation or an incremental step forward, it's better across the board to a degree I never expected. It's a special game I didn't want to end. Yes, Ragnarok is a God of War sequel, but really, it's all about Atreus. He's the driving force of the story, emotionally and physically. Picking up a few years after the first game, Atreus is ambitious and driven, wanting to know everything he can about his path and his ancestry. How can he affect it? Is he even ready to? The struggle between him and Kratos about what's right and how they fit into the story of the Nine Realms is at the centre of Ragnarok's plot. What unfolds, however, is one of the most beautifully told stories I've played in years, far beyond that of the first game. Not once does Kratos shout "boy" in Ragnarok. His relationship with his son has changed. They're able to be far more open with each other, allowing them to grow as a father and a young man. It's the superb writing and perfect placement of dramatic moments that make them so effective, slowly portraying their developing connection. Even with a wonderful story, God of War Ragnarok wouldn't be much if the action wasn't a step up. The quality of the first game's basics always meant Ragnarok would be fun, but I wasn't prepared for quite how much Sony Santa Monica would improve the combat. The Blade of Chaos and Leviathan Axe are still the core weapons, but they're just a part of your arsenal now. New weapons, secret things I don't want to spoil, runic attacks, and an expanded parry system gives you so many options in combat. Enemies have different abilities you need to be aware of too. Poison, fire, ice, and bifrost all affect you in different ways and need to be countered in certain ways. Combining attacks to defeat enemies quickly is often the aim. Using one attack to weaken an enemy before going into the kill is so satisfying. One result of that increased combat variety is that God of War Ragnarok is a lot easier than the first game, at least on the standard difficulty. Some moments towards the end are a little challenging, but generous checkpointing, often multiple times during boss fights, keeps frustration at bay. Talking of boss fights, they're all spectacular. Much like the first game, Ragnarok opens strong, but it's the boss fights towards the end that blew me away. They're intense, varied, challenging enough, and full of surprises. Puzzles and platforming still play an important part in progression too. Since Ragnarok is mostly linear, a lot of your time is spent climbing and solving puzzles that are mostly simple. There's a lot of squeezing through gaps and under rocks too, but getting around the Nine Realms feels great. Kratos is somehow as agile as he is powerful, which makes exploration one of Ragnarok's highlights. Sony Santa Monica has created something special. To take one of the best action games in the last decade and improve it to such a degree in every single way is mind-blowing. It tells an epic yet intimate story about connection, trust, and ambition, all while letting you tag along for the ride with combat that is flawlessly varied, fluid, and so much fun. God of War Ragnarok is the perfect sequel.